What is up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sheila B on the Beat. I have a wonderful episode for you all today. It is something I want to share something that is truly liberating and absolutely wonderful. Some information that I found out through just doing a little bit of research. So I'm actually going to start this episode with a story. So a friend of mine went into Publix one day and we saw this woman dressed almost like a flight attendant. And so we wanted to know what she did for a living. So we went up to her and we asked her. She was very nice, a very beautiful older woman, very, very wise. I asked her, was she a school teacher, right? So she told me that she was not a school teacher anymore, but she used to be a history teacher. So what I did was ask her an age-old question that I had in the back of my mind. And I asked this question because of how she answered me. I think I asked it in pure ignorance, right? Of course. So I asked her, why do they make us learn history in school when it's over with, when it's done, when it's something from way back in the day, and we're moving on to a new way of life in society? And so what she said to me completely, I think, changed my life forever and completely set a tone for how I look at history. She completely got me together real quick. I don't know why old people have a tendency to do that, but she got me together right there in Publix. And what she said to me, she said, well, history has a tendency to repeat itself. So that's why it's important to know history. And for some reason, when she said that, it just made so much sense of why we have to know history. You want to know what happened back in the day because it just has a capability of happening again. She also said to me in this conversation, what she said to me and my friend, this conversation was about 45 minutes. She said that a lot of Black people, African Americans, she said they don't strive to be all that they can be because they don't know their own history. And so right there in Publix, I searched deep down in myself and I asked myself, do I know the Black history that I need to know? Do I know the important facts of Black history? Do I know beyond Martin Luther King? Do I know beyond, Rosa Parks? Do I know beyond, Abraham Lincoln supposedly that freed the slaves? So I said, oh my gosh, there's a lot of Black history that I don't know. So today I'm going to share with you some things that I found. It is absolutely amazing, absolutely liberating. I'm so proud to be a part of this culture. Now, as I read to you, I'm going to read to you some accomplishments of Blacks and African Americans throughout time. And I want you to keep in mind that as I read this, that some of these accomplishments were not so easy to accomplish like they are now. So some of these people actually went to school. They're the first to get many degrees, first to get many patents. And just keep in mind that this is in a time where it was not easy to just enroll in school, right? You didn't just pass, the SAT and make a SAT scores and they say you're selected. These people actually got denied for school and for patents because of the color of their skin. And so when I read their successes, please just keep in mind that they may have had to try 3 different schools or apply for a patent 3 different times in order to get accomplished what they got accomplished. So the first up here is Janet Bastion. She was the first African-American woman to receive a patent for a web-based software invention. Keep in mind that this was in a time where patents were not just given out to African Americans. They had to try multiple times. Sarah Boone, she was best known for her improvements to the ironing board, which is awesome because of I don't know any house that doesn't have an iron board. I don't know unless you use a table or something. Edward Chandler, he was the second African American to obtain a PhD in chemistry, I remember taking AP chemistry. I don't know what's AP chemistry. I just took chemistry in high school, and you guys, I will never forget. I ended up crying. Like we were doing some lab, I was sitting there so confused. So to know that Edward Chandler accomplished this was truly amazing to me. We have Marie Daly. She was the first Black woman with a degree. She was the first Black woman, rather, with a degree in chemistry, which is totally awesome. A very hard subject, I think anybody would agree. Mae Jemison, she was the first female astronaut to travel to space. So that was pretty cool when I read that. We have Alexander Miles. While he did not invent the elevator, he made a significant improvement to the elevator. He realized the hazard and designed a flexible belt attachment to the elevator cage. That was awesome to know as well. So as I was reading these, there were hundreds. I mean, the list went on and on and on. I just picked out a few that I wanted to share and express. There were hundreds of Black and African American people who had beautiful, amazing accomplishments. So I thought to myself, I said, well, I'm 31 years old. If I can read these accomplishments, if I can become aware of these accomplishments and be inspired, then imagine what little Black girls and little Black boys will feel when they hear this as well, right? So the first introduction that children have of their kind, especially in the school system, is they're introduced to their ancestors and the people that they are descendants of as slaves. And I just wonder, what tone does this set when you introduce their people to them, their race of people to them as slaves? And to me, just personally, it's almost like it sets a tone automatically in their mind that they are less than or less worthy, right? Less deserving, or that they, are not as smart as them. And you introduce children. I think the history of slavery gets introduced possibly around 4 or 5. I don't know. I guess somewhere between kindergarten and the 4th grade. I'm not sure, so please correct me. But if you introduce children to people that look like them as slaves, it sets a narrative to them that is solely who they are, right? And Black History Month comes around once a month, which people are not, so happy about that. But I think, and this is the purpose of this episode, is to express the importance of sharing this history with our children. Like, the old people say, when you know better, you do better. And I'm somebody who was trying to do better. There's tons of more things that I have to go through to look back at Black history, to be enlightened about, to be educated about. But I just want to express that so much. Imagine if this can make me feel so amazing, if this can make me feel so a part of this history, then imagine how it can make children feel all over the world. I don't think that Black history should be left solely up to the educational system to teach. Teachers are amazing. I love teachers. Of course, I think they're underpaid. I think they're the most phenomenal people to walk the planet. But to be honest, when this is introduced to them, the heritage, the culture of Blacks and African Americans, I do not think it's expressed absolutely the way that it should be expressed. I don't think it's taught wholeheartedly. I think some of it is kind of softened up. And I think that the history of their people is important for them to know. Representation does matter. To see or to hear about, how amazing people were, how courageous they were, how overcoming they were, how they express perseverance through hardship. I think that is what our children need to hear. And I think that is of the uttermost importance. But like I said, this conversation with this woman was absolutely phenomenal. And it really made me think about myself. And learning about the history of Blacks and African Americans is truly allowing me to tap into some of those places in my life where I'm insecure in, or where I'm not, where I'm not sure of, where I'm not sure where I'll be successful. These people strive wholeheartedly, right, without fail for success, and they accomplished it. And I truly, it's obvious, right, that they lived in a much harder time. So it makes me truly feel that, hey, if they were able to do this, then what is holding me back? That feeling alone, that representation is important, because our children really don't have a lot of, I won't say they don't have a lot of role models, but I will say that they have role models that should not be seen as role models, right? A lot of children, let's just particularly point out, like teenage girls, they look up to, the housewife, Atlanta housewives, and that's their goal. They want to be a housewife, they want to get on TV, and they want to, do whatever the housewife do, or the Bad Girls Club. They look up to that. You know, they strive to be on reality TV. And this is something that is not wholeheartedly healthy for them, right? So to explain to them, to tell them the history of how beautiful their people were, maybe it'll change their path. Maybe they'll want to strive to be like, you know, these chemists. Maybe they'll strive to want to be like the scientists, right? Some of them I just read to you. Maybe they'll strive to be inventors. So I just wanted to express so much that it is important for us to know our history. And like I said, there's hundreds of more pages that I could go through, hundreds of more things that I plan to go through. And like I said, you know better, you do better. I just cannot believe that all these years have passed and there's so much history out there that I don't know. Of course, I didn't share everything in this episode that I found. I plan to, and you know, in a future episode, of course. But absolutely, I hope this has encouraged you to have that conversation with little Black and African American girls and boys that you know, and let them know that the people that they came from were not just people who were held in captivity. They were people who were absolutely amazing. They were people who were brilliant, people who were filled with ideas, people who were filled with creativity, and so are they. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night.